Hello everybody and welcome to this, and this is the first after show for the Easthaven 8. We do this just for the Patreon, for the other shows that we do, but it made sense for me to do this one live here on the YouTube to just kind of get everybody's idea of what the show is about, and also to promote the show and get people talking and interested in it. So we've got a whole host of people here, and while I continue to get this setup sorted, I'll introduce everybody. I am Karl, obviously the writer and producer of this show, the editor as well. Have been for X-Men, Power Rangers, Long Halloween, all those ones that we've done. So I'll go from the top right, or at least for you, the top right. We've got Ian Webster, who was one of the people who really helped with the creation of the show, working out the scripts and the characters and stuff like that when we were, I was posting early drafts or early character ideas. He helped with a lot of that stuff. Same thing for Kim Good here, who obviously is bringing a perspective. We'll play a character in the future episodes, but for now was just kind of a perspective that we needed in the show. We've also got with us, we've got Mitch McFarlane, who is obviously another person who has been helping out behind the scenes, the person who is behind the Easthaven audio drama, stuff like that. We've got Zach Adamson, who is Kyle Reed in the show, and obviously you know him from all the behind the show scene stuff, podcasts, all that kind of stuff. We've got Nate Lodbrook, who was my co-creator, who came up with a lot of the characters of this show, and helped me develop the original early concepts, and he also plays Miles Layton in the story. You there, Nate?
Yep, I'm here.
And we've also got Nadie Wolf, who again was another person who was kind of in the writer's room, as it were. We did have Rebecca here, who plays Sky a minute ago. She's dropped off the call. I'm sure she'll be back in a second.
It looked like she froze up.
Okay, fair enough. Oh, there
she is. We speak and she appears.
Yes, this is Rebecca Olivia, who again, she plays Sky in the show, but it was also a big part of being part of the writer's room, the development of some of the characters and stuff in the early stages. So yeah, I mean, the genesis of this show really was that the writer's strike happened and I couldn't publish anything for any of our flagship shows. So, I'm still making those shows. Power Rangers is currently being edited right now, and, X-Men's got a script and people are sending me their lines and stuff. Like, we're still in production, but I can only post them on the Patreon. I can't post them out to the world because it will be promoting those IPs, and we've got a lot of our actors who are eligible to be part of the union, and I don't want to ruin their chances. So we're like, okay, people have been begging, especially Omri is always on at me saying, do something original, something you can own. And I was like, I don't have time. I do, 3 shows. I've got a full-time job. I literally don't have time, but now I do have time to do it. So when I posted up on the Facebook group and Twitter, saying, would people be interested, the response, mostly from these guys and a lot of you out there, was very, very positive and very supportive. And I was like, wow, okay, people are actually interested in doing this. And I literally came up with a bare bones idea of something. And I think what happened was I watched the Netflix show Heartstopper, and I really love that series. And as a bisexual guy myself, I identified with some of the characters, and I was like, I love sci-fi superhero, and I've done some of that with Adam in Power Rangers and stuff like that. But there's never been what's the thing with with podcasts and the internet content in general is you've got to find your unique niche, your thing that will make you stand out from everybody else. The story of this show is very trite, it's very tropey, it's been done a million times. So how do I make something like this, but I make it so that it has its own voice, its own unique identity? And for me, the way of doing that was to have this show be LGBT focused, with some of the main characters, or a lot of the main characters, be gay or bisexual or trans or things like that. And there are straight characters on the main cast. Miles is straight, Claire is straight, but it kind of has a representation about it. The decision to set it back in 2004 was actually an idea from Joey Solis. He originally had the idea to do it in the 90s, but I still wanted to have a more modern feel to it, I guess. I felt like 90s was a bit too far of a throwback. And obviously the 80s has been done to death and everything, even though our soundtrack is very Stranger Things. So 2004 was a happy medium. Like, he said the 90s, I was thinking modern day, But the reason we said it in 2004 was because I don't want to deal with social media. Because in this day and age, when everybody has a camera in their pocket, this story can't really happen in this way. Because there would just be, evidence and they'd be communicating on social media, stuff like that. It's a problem I keep running into all the time in Power Rangers where I have to sort of address that. So I'm like, plus the reason I decided to do 2004 was I was a teenager in 2004. I was 16 in 2004, so it gives me a perspective where I can write from my point of view, and especially with the English characters, I can throw in some dialogue and some colloquialisms that, I would know from that time, whereas I don't know, like I work with kids, or I know kids of today, obviously, but I don't have that perspective, and I don't think anybody in the creative side obviously has that perspective. We've had brought some younger people on, but, we're definitely, none of us are of the Twitch, not Twitch, that's even older, what's the word I'm thinking of? The YouTube, but shorter.
Vine.
Vine?
Yeah.
TikTok.
Or TikTok.
There we go. Vine.
I went
Vine's our
older.
generation. Yeah, Vine's
Oh!
our generation.
All I can think of.
Yeah, none of us are of the TikTok generation, the Zoomer generation, so we didn't have that perspective. And I've tried to infuse some of that into my other stuff, but for anybody who's followed our shows, you know that I focus on teen drama a lot. And I enjoy that stuff. So I was like, what can I do that's like my uni version of that? Bringing these elements, that kind of stuff. And I'd literally come up with Alex and Kyle and a couple of the stuff, and then Nate hit me up and came up with basically the rest of the main group. We came up with the adults together, but I think you came up with Miles, Claire, and Sky, and Jack initially. So Nate, do you want to talk about that very quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much just went off what you gave me and just started spitballing and sending stuff your way and seeing what you thought. And I think for the most part, it came out really well, and we got the right cast for it. So
yeah.
And
everybody did an amazing job. This was the most, like, you would think me posting I need a Wolverine would be the big thing that would get all the auditions, and it did. But this show blew up. Thanks to Sarah Nightingale, who plays Claire, and Joey, and a few other guys who were like big in the voice acting community retweeting it. This casting got out there. And it's kind of crazy that a lot of the people who ended up being cast were people who were in the inner circle anyway. Rebecca was a patron. Zach's a patron and obviously member of the cast and the stuff. You obviously were Miles was kind of a self-insert character, you said?
not really. I just wanted the shot to read for him before you went with one of your heavy hitters there and got a big name on there. So definitely thankful for the shot at it.
You said you put a lot of yourself into Miles, from what I remember.
Oh yeah, like the kind of geeky rocker teenage computer geek guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like, don't ever think though that the casting process was rigged. Like, I went with the best people for the voice, and literally we had calls like this one where I didn't make the decisions. Like, if it had just been down to me, the cast might have been slightly differently, but I had a whole team around me because I wanted to get this right, and everybody on this call was a part of choosing the final cast. In a lot, we went for the best people for the job in a lot of places. Sometimes I was like, crap, I haven't cast so-and-so. Does anybody quickly want to voice Mr. This or Mrs. That? Or, and there was a couple of people who just, like Glenda Villamar, who came in last minute, who were just great and responded straight away. Or Nate, you played Miles' dad. No, Mick, sorry. You played Miles' dad. Very last minute. And then literally I got to the scene with Rachel and was like, crap, I haven't cast anybody for Christian Rose. I don't want to ask anybody else because I keep asking. I guess I'll do it. I'll be the abusive husband. So,
hey, I got a deep enough voice for it.
Yeah. It was literally just a case of I didn't want to bother anybody else about the casting with that. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go. I'll start with the early stages. Ian, you were also a big help in when you got the initial concepts, the initial scripts, and helping me work all this stuff out. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, the first, I think our first idea was that we talked about the officer and the cop, and that they would need to be sort of like mentor figures, and then we also toned down a little bit, and also I've given a lot of ideas for story and character ideas for future characters. And
Hi, Ryan.
this,
We've got Ryan
Hey.
Davis, who plays Alex on.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Sorry,
yeah.
Well, we knew the time traveling was. Oh wait, that's different series.
Yeah,
and
literally, I came up with the characters, did not realise until somebody pointed out that Alex Drake was the name of a Time Force Ranger. But anyway, carry on in.
Time Force.
And also, the grander scope of the story was actually something that I came up with, and without giving a lot away, there is more to what exactly this monster is.
Yes, who will be played by Joey Solis, who everybody knows as Tommy and Draken and Colossus, and yeah. So.
Yeah. And also the relationships between the characters is also something I'm very.
We haven't even revealed like what half of their powers are yet. Like we've had hints.
No,
but,
we
like,
haven't.
But Huan, we haven't even heard like what his powers are yet. That'll be revealed in the next one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm currently writing episode 2 now. My original idea was I was going to write like 3 episodes before I even release one, but it comes to a point where I'm just like, let's just get it done. Like, I don't want to keep people waiting. Let's put something out there because I haven't published anything since June because of the strike and everything. So, alrighty. So, I guess since you've just popped in, Ryan, let's go to you. Obviously, you're the new guy to this group, but you had the most lines. You were basically playing the part of the main narrator and the main character in the same episode. So, well done for doing all of that.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it was like, because I looked at it at first and I was like, oh, it's a ton of lines, but then I was like, whoa, wait, but this is actually a really cool character, so I was super happy with it, with how many lines there were, and then like hearing everyone else in the final product and it just all came together, like, nah, you guys did so good with like the acting and then you with the writing and just all of it. I don't know, I loved it, man.
Yeah, you honestly, it was a very tough choice on Alex, but then your audition came in and literally me, Mitch, and Ian and Zach were just like done, like that. It was so good.
It was hard. It was very hard.
Yeah, like to go from like
you're
doing that kind of panic in the actual voice things, but then in your head you're doing all the kind of description and that kind of stuff. And obviously it skips around, and that'll happen more and more. Like Alex won't be necessarily the main voice in the next episode. Everybody will get a chance to be kind of the main voice, but I know Zach did a lot of that as Karl in this one as well. So yeah, I mean, because typically in X-Men and Power Rangers, I have a separate person who is the narrator, who is going, this is the scene, this kind of like an audio book, this is what's happening. This time I wanted to do kind of the POV thing, and I think it really worked, so awesome job and all that.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Just like, because I like how it's not just me, but it actually has a chance to like show everyone's different thoughts, like when it switches to them. So like, as the episodes go on, it's going to be so cool to like hear all their individual thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The one thing I noticed very quickly is that of all the main characters, Claire and Sky don't have narration points.
Not yet, no. Which is something obviously I need to address in the next episode. I've already written first half or first quarter of episode 2, and Sky is very...
You just...
7 pages. I just reread it.
Yes, Sky is very heavily featured in that. So speaking of Sky, let's go to her next, Olivia. Obviously, you're a part of this, but very, very, very good Mean Girls. Like,
yeah, it was so good.
Yeah.
So I totally did you have a question? I totally missed that.
No, just go ahead and talk about obviously Sky coming up with the voice and the character and all that kind of stuff.
Well, when I kind of heard that she was kind of like a preppy bitch, I wanted to go with more of like a valley girl, like yeah, totally, absolutely. I wanted to kind of go with that kind of vibe. And it seemed to kind of work out. I hope she does. I hope she kind of loses the valley girlness a little bit, but I can totally.
She will do. But yeah, you're definitely meant to hate her with her homophobia and just the way she is, and there'll be a character arc to her, but she's definitely starts out that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's what I hope for her. It was a lot of fun to try out for the. I think I tried out for Mrs. Rose as well. I auditioned for Mrs. Rose, and I definitely did not nail that one. When I heard Mrs. Rose, I was like, "Oh my god, she's perfect."
Yeah, well,
So-
we literally, like, when me and Nate came up with a character, we had Jeannie in mind, because Jeannie has been bugging me for years. Can I please play a good guy? Because she was Rita, then she was Emma Frost, or she was Emma Frost first, she came back as Emma Frost, so she's always a bad guy, and I'm like, I know I've typecast you. So we had her in mind as, like, the teacher character, and then when Nate came up with the description and she had red hair, I was like, well, come on. I mean, like, you know...
100% had to be.
Although it has the unintentional side effect of I can't help when I'm listening to it, and like she just sounds like Rita, and I've got to get that out of my head of like, no, run, kids. You know?
Oh, jeez.
I'm really excited to be a part of the casting crew though with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you.
Well, I guess we'll go to the last person who's here from the cast, which is Mitch. Not Mitch, sorry. Zach. You obviously got the role of Kyle. You've been various background characters, and finally become second on the credits. So well done for that.
The work finally pays off.
That's facts.
Yeah.
No, even if I was just another background character on this, I would have been just stoked, because everything that personally believe everything that you've put out has just been fantastic.
Oh.
I've been so blessed and so honored to have been a part of anything and everything you've done. This, the Patreon stuff, anything. I love it. But one thing I noticed, Jeannie's always bugging you because you make her play bad characters. Do I have to start bugging you because now I play good characters?
Oh, you want to play a bad guy?
Well,
I mean,
it's a rotation of
That's
that.
what happens.
You're on the bad side with Zed Commander.
Sure.
Yeah.
Kyle,
I'm going to leave it at that.
You keep that in mind for when I start working on mine. I need villains. You want to play fairy?
We've got
Like
Jordan
a-
in the chat saying, "Are you?" Who are the person that interviewed? These are all the people from the cast, Jordan, on the cast and crew from the show. So, hi, thank you for joining us. So the only other person I haven't gone to, Mitch. You obviously were part of the kind of the reading the initial scripts and stuff. And you eventually ended up being obviously Mr. Layton in the episode, but mostly you've been involved in the behind the scenes stuff. So do you want to have a chat about how we sort of developed the show?
Sure. So like I was very intrigued when we said that we were going to start setting this in the mid-aughts, because I was also a teenager at that time. So I was like, okay, cool. And one of the things I really wanted to like bring to the table was that immersion, because Joey, at the time we were getting through the Avengers, and so Joey was just like immersion. I'm like, okay, I got it. But so I kind of channeled that over to here as well. And so I reached out to some people I knew up in the Portland area, to like a journalist friend I've got up that way. And I was like, hey man, if this sort of thing happened, how would the press react? How would, such and such. So that's where I was really kind of pulling in like the real world parts, because that helps ground the story and makes the fantastical parts of it even better.
And that's the thing.
More realistic, absolutely.
Yeah, like that's the thing is when I write the scripts usually, for Power Rangers I have a script editor who does rewrites and stuff. X-Men I generally, obviously the first draft is kind of the comics, so I don't really work on that too much in terms of once it's done in terms of drafts. This one went through various stages because I sent it out to you guys came back with ideas to make it better and make it more realistic. That's speaking to the point of you, Kim. Your point of view, the reason you were brought on board is because Jack is obviously a trans character. And obviously, it was a much different time in 2004 for trans male and females at that time. So it's going to be a very different story. But I wanted to make sure to get the authenticity right. And that's why, obviously, I brought you in as sort of a...
Here's what's funny. Kim came out as trans a year later in real life in 2015.
A year later?
That makes sense.
10 years later.
I was so in the closet still in 2014.
Oh, it's this is
But yeah,
this is 2004.
I know. Oh, I thought we said 14.
No,
Shit.
4. Hence the
Oh yeah, so
phones.
2004. Yeah. Back in that time, definitely, I can tell you, at least on media, there wasn't really trans representation. The closest I ever grew up seeing was Max on the L word. We're gonna throw that out there for anyone who may knows what that is.
Nobody knows
But like
her,
the fact,
but in the UK, we had a reality show where a trans female
Mhm.
in
Oh yeah,
2006.
we've had several with RuPaul's Drag Race in particular. A lot of trans women have won the titles.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's as someone who has studied LGBT history, back in where the time setting we are working on this project, it is very difficult to be a trans man or a trans woman at the time. One of the biggest things, and this is something even I'm still researching because it's incredibly even hard to find, is how the resources were back then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to be on a fun journey with Jack as his identity is being explored and what it means to be trans, as well as all the other LGBT representation we're going to be presenting in this podcast as well.
Yeah. And it's also making sure that we have representation from pretty much every sort of viewpoint of the people in the show. And it's also making sure that we don't step on any landmines. And, you know, like my original idea for Jack was that his powers would be like Mystique, it'd be shape-shifting. But, you know, we realised that was probably going to be a bad thing because it would be, you know, if he was shifting genders, that would cause some body dysmorphia and that kind of things, and it'd have some bad, you know, connotations.
Yeah, that sounds very problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, gender dysphoria was something with shapeshifting is the most problematic thing in superheroes in general. Because when we see a lot of shapeshifter characters, they tend to have a non-binary or gender fluid approach. Mystique, of course, being a prime example. Another great example for others is like Xavian from the Runaways, because Xavian shapeshift and would be fluid between the two genders at the time. But yeah, that was like one of the biggest concerns. I remember Karl coming to me was, how do you think this would go over if Jack was a shapeshifter? I'm like, not well as a trans man. I wouldn't want to shapeshift ever into a woman. I'd just be male body, we're good. Yeah, we're done. Never again.
Yeah, and also it obviously it also had the thing of being like, oh, you know, you get magical powers and automatically your struggle's over. It's like, you know, I think that would be, you know, magic wanding away problems, and you know, it's just you just don't want to go there. So I mean that's why I brought you on board and why I spoke to other trans friends and things, because I wanted to make sure I had that perspective, so I didn't go there. You know what I mean? Interesting. Speaking of perspective, I don't know about Ryan. I don't know if you're. I don't know what your sexuality is or what your perspective is.
I mean, I'm straight. I didn't realize that Alex was gay when I auditioned. I think.
Okay.
Is he?
I'm
not sure.
That is.
I mean,
like I said, I'm not. That means we've got you and Zach who are playing gay characters who aren't, but that's not abnormal. And I said to everybody, I'm going to go with the best person for the voice and who does the best acting for the character. Not, you know, the actual sexuality of the person does not matter in that case. But sorry, Ryan, carry on.
No, yeah. Because like I didn't realize at first, but I'm also like happy to see that it is that, just because like, you know, I'm gonna do my best to portray it, and either way, like it's cool just to like, you know, see that in the story, and it's not even like explicitly stated; it's just kind of randomly hinted at, like, because his friend is like, you know, more open about it, but then with him, it's kind of just like random internal monologue thoughts where it's like, oh, and then I passed out on his bed, not in the way I wanted to though, but it's like, but at the same time, like I think it'll be cool to like see it grow throughout the story and just to actually like, you know, both have him get closer just to the friend group as friends, but then also in ways like that where, you know, they can actually just open up to each other and just really find out who they are, not just with the powers and, you know, running from the government or whatever, but then also just as people. And so I think it'll be so cool just to see the growth in the story with that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the main stories I want to tell, is the idea of him coming out, and also him starting to realise that he has an attraction to Kyle, and that whole relationship will become kind of the main story, at least the character story of those two. Zach, do you want to speak about that? Because originally you were only going to go for Miles for that reason.
Yeah, I originally did that, and then I think I did. I think I also did Kyle, and I think I also did Alex. Like, I think I did like all three of those and sent them in, if I remember correctly. And I even remember going to you and just being like, "Hey, I know that this is a very like representative thing. Like, are you cool with me being a straight guy playing a gay character? Like, that's not going to cause any problems." And it didn't, which is awesome. I have no problems with it. I just hope that I did a great job and that everybody's happy and love one another and treat everybody with kindness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also,
Being an ally for me counts.
Yes. And also, like, most of the gay characters in fiction are played by straight actors. And you get, like, the thing of an audio drama is, of course, is I can have you guys hook up, but you don't actually have to act that out. So that is an extra, not a limiting factor in terms of comfortability and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So.
So I need to go. I am drenched in sweat from sitting in my car.
Okay.
So thank you all for letting me be here, and everyone, I hope you enjoyed the audio drama. Because fun fact, I haven't listened to it. I will be listening to it when I get home.
Oh, well, enjoy.
Yeah. So thank you for letting me be here, and
No worries.
You're welcome.
I am excited to keep working on the project for the future. So
Thank you.
goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
I do want to throw to Nate, because I know you have got some limited time as well. Do you want to speak about Miles and obviously getting the part and developing the character?
Yeah, I mean, Miles is a character I've kind of had in my back pocket for a while now. I was kind of that nerdy kid who wanted to create my own X-Men team without actual Marvel characters when I was younger. So I had all these characters, names, powers put together, which kind of made it easier pitching stuff over to you.
That's cool.
But yeah.
Like him and the Drapers, right? Were characters you had in your back pocket. Yeah.
Yep,
I believe we, Jack was not initially trans, but that's why I suggested, like, again, just to have inclusivity on the team and stuff.
Yeah, we definitely changed some characters, which is awesome. Gets a lot more, like you said, inclusivity on there, and yeah, it's just been a lot of fun so far. And hearing everybody bringing the characters to life has just been really awesome and cool to hear.
Okay, awesome. So I without I'll just go ahead over to the floor. The chat's not really coming in with questions because they don't know anything about these characters yet. So I'll just go around the room really. Ian, what would you say would be your favourite moment or scene or whatever from episode 1?
Oh, that's difficult to say.
Gives everybody else a chance to think of it now.
Okay, well, the opening is really, really, really good, but I also really do like the moment, like the interaction between Alex and Kyle and Sky in her bedroom, because it really kind of because again, I'm all about character growth and friendships and relationships and whatnot, and it really sets up that there's definitely going to be something of a rivalry between Alex and Sky moving forward, but also you could tell that both Sky and Kyle have a history in the way they interact with each other.
That I think they know. I think the way it's set up is they know of each other, but they're like they know of each other. They've seen each other around school, but they have never really interacted.
Yeah, like right behind Jack and Claire, they've known each other the longest.
You mean with Sky? You mean with Sky and Kyle? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. That whole thing of like they were friends and then they fell out because she became who she became, and
they kind of went opposite directions.
Yeah, and that's what we'll find out as the show goes on. That's very much linked. Like her very specific homophobia towards him is for a reason, and if you can read between the lines, I think you'll realise what's going on there. Mitch, what about you?
I think one of my favorite scenes is the development of Mrs. Rose as we discover what she can do and the implications of her marriage and the direction that's going to go. So I think that's one of my favorite scenes, and I'm looking forward to seeing that go forward.
Rebecca?
I really like the interaction when Kyle and Alex were showing each other their powers. I thought that was really, really cool to hear like the inner monologues and then, you know, the mind reading. And I really liked that interaction between those two.
Yeah, and I labelled that scene sort of metally as coming out, because it is them coming out to each other with their powers, but Alex is still in the closet in terms of his sexuality, but he's, you know, Zach? I was Coach Karl there.
Oh God, there was a lot of different scenes. If I can be a little personal for a second, I really liked doing the narration scenes, especially when my mom was like giving me the Anaconda death grip hug. I thought that was funny. I liked that. Anytime whenever I got to show off the telekinesis stuff and I got to do the like grunting and the screaming, loved doing that. That was so much fun. But not including me, I think I have to say my favorite scenes are in the beginning when Sky's freaking out.
Hang on, this massive echo coming from Hello? Okay, somebody's getting massive.
Ian.
Is it?
Is it me?
Yeah, for some reason we had a delay where we're getting an echo from you. I don't know whether just a delay has started, but
Evil thing.
Sorry, Karen.
Outside of myself, if I can stop being narcissistic, I think my favorite scenes are anything to do with Sky, because I think she's a fantastic character. The beginning freak out where she's just screaming her head off, I think is funny and awesome. And then the at the end, whenever Kyle and Alex are sitting there like talking to her like, come on, like we got powers. What's yours? Oh, what exactly is yours? Twiggy.
Yeah. Which is like, again, as a person who obviously was an outsider at school and things like that, it's very much like that you can automatically from that like understand what their relationship is at school, and she's the mean girl and he's the outsider kid, and obviously her group picks on him, and the cool kids pick on him and that kind of stuff. So Nate?
I'm going to be a little cliche and say the very first scene, that opening, just the way it grabs you, the ambiance behind it. I just think it's awesome. Just so well put together. Everybody did a great job with it, and it just sticks out and grabs you right from the beginning.
And it happens right after it all happens.
Yes. Which at some point we will go blah, 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 and show the build up, but I'm gonna keep that in my back pocket as kind of a filling in the gaps thing eventually. Ryan, have you got one?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the beginning is like the most like impactful and grabbing, but I think my favorite scene was kind of in the police station where they're getting questioned after that, because it really shows like all their different reactions to it, their strengths and weaknesses like as characters, because you got like the kids who some of them are like, obviously extremely freaked out and traumatized because like, they saw people explode. But also, some of the kids are more like casual and just making fun of each other. Some are just like, talking. Some are just shook, but like, not super freaked out. And then we also see, some of the parents' reaction. We see some of the police who are like, oh, we're going to blame it on another country, like stuff like that. Because obviously this is like, pretty much a year or two post like 9/11. So
yeah, 3 years. So yeah, we are very much in the George Bush era at this point.
Yeah, so we see like a lot of that like bigotry coming from like the adults there, and then we also just see all the kids like just in general really on edge. So I think even though it's not like a nice scene or whatever, because everyone's always like super prickly and mean to it, or I mean sort of in that way, but like everyone's like really on edge with that, especially Alex who like explodes there. But I thought it was a really good way to just show how like no one knows what's really going on, but then that's going to be such a great way to build it up and actually have them, come together and become a team through that drama. So I love that scene, I think, just because it showed their characters really well.
Yeah. And I think shout out to some of the actors who were. They're gonna have more stuff in the future, but they got only a couple of lines here as the parents and stuff. I particularly liked Harry as Mr. Draper with his freak out about how they're gonna sell the house, and that's.
Yeah.
When we looked at his audition, we all agreed that's Mr. Draper.
Yeah, I think he originally auditioned for one of the American characters, but when he did like his intro, he did it in his natural voice. I was like, "Holy cow, that's like he's so British." Like, there's no way I can't have him. Yeah, absolutely. And also, obviously, as the racist police captain, Ray O'Hare, who was the judge in Trial of Bruce Wayne, he was fantastic as this racist old cop who's just you know the type. Straight away. Was there any Arab kids there? But again, it's realistic. It's hard to put that stuff in, but it's realistic, especially at that time. I mean, even today, people would say that, but definitely at that time, people would say that. 90, are you still here, Morris?
Oh yeah, I'm still here.
Have you got a favourite moment? As sort of I mean, I know you were involved in the creation stuff, but you've mostly been kind of here and there, kind of chiming in where you can, and mostly you've been just kind of an audience member for this. So.
Yeah, I've been trying to listen to and help you out with some of the audio stuff too. I've been helping Digital Beast out with his stuff, making sure the audio sounds good. Karl does an amazing job with the editing, making it flow nice. The best part that I thought, because I have two, was them going to get Sky. And what'd you do to my teddy bear? I forget the name of the teddy bear.
Mr. Snuggles.
Mr. Snuggles. It's just, how dare you do that to... But the ending to episode 1, not many of your audio dramas do that for the first episode. Just drop a bomb like that.
Mm-hmm. Because usually I'm like...
That caught me really well.
Obviously, when I'm adapting another IP, it's a very iconic story I'm telling, which is, there's an origin story that is very set up as a beginning, a middle, and end that's already decided that I know that is the story that I'm telling. X-Men's are going to end with them fighting Magneto and then forming the X-Men. Power Rangers are going to end with them coming together, defeating the Putties of Goldar, and, Rita's like, it's very much the template is set. Whereas this show, I was very much like, for the people who watch or listen to Power Rangers and go, oh my god, you're making this into a CW drama, like, where's all the action and stuff, like when they get bored with that stuff. And like, this is the show that is not for those people. This is the show where, especially this first episode, I lean heavily on that. It's all about characters and character drama and relationships and things like that, because this is the ground level. Like that there isn't a Zordon or a Professor Xavier who's going to come in and go, this is what you are, now go fight aliens, so we don't have that,
Yeah, when I first read the draft and that when I got to the end, I was like, "This is really happening."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like one of those jaw-dropping moments. Like, wow, we're really going there.
Which is cool. It's like, again, we never even had that idea for Jack's powers originally, but it gives an interesting storytelling device of for Alex's sake, he now knows in a few months, like, everything Jack has predicted has happened. So he now knows in a few months, when this alien turns up, he's going to die. So how can they avoid that? How is that going to change how he interacts in the scenes? How he's going to be interested in actually, going more down a potentially more superhero-y route, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's... It's always fun storytelling with the whole kind of fate thing. I did a very similar thing with Tommy recently in Rangers before the break, where he obviously knows that he's going to marry Kat, but he's with Kim and he's like, what do I do here? And how will that change having that knowledge, sort of thing.
Yeah, the Dino Thunder vision.
Yes. Paulo Torres, congratulations everybody for the first episode and the start of a brand new series. Thank you very much. Like I say, it was very much by necessity, but I'm very, very happy with the sport, especially for everybody from everybody here and the cast and the crew. And like, it isn't just me the writing this time. Like, I'm obviously doing the screenplay, but I pitch ideas to these guys, they come back to me, and this show would be very, very different if it wasn't for everybody here, especially who read the drafts, get back to me with ideas to make it better and more authentic, and because doing something original is totally different. Because in a lot of ways, my other shows, a first draft already exists, which is the original show, the original comics, the original TV show. In some cases, it's a terrible first draft that I like. How can I make this good? Whereas this is completely, nothing is more scary as a creative than looking at a blank sheet of paper. This show is a blank sheet of paper.
And definitely go with that representation thing. I know I've talked to you about it. And it's Karl that's been helping me out. Has been helping me out a lot with representation and all that, with his form of characters. And I've been talking to some of my trans friends, and they're going, well, this doesn't do this. Okay. The transformation thing. Oh, yeah, that would definitely be a huge issue. You play to your terms. What do you want your audio drama to represent and make the drama, as opposed to scaring people off?
Yes. Yeah. And obviously, like, I want it to be accessible and all that kind of thing.
And of course, the time of the thing, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I'm under no illusions that in terms of an audience, this is not going to reach the same, especially as X-Men, because obviously there's a massive audience there that are knowledgeable about it and are going to come into it because they see, they search on whatever podcast app or whatever, X-Men, and then my show pops up, then they'll listen to it for that reason. This hasn't got that, which, I'm hoping it, obviously the word gets out there and continue to spread it around, but it's not got that preset audience. So I've got to build it from the ground up, and again, that's the very scary concept of why I avoided it for so long, because it is such so much work, and it may not be, 50 people in the world may end up listening to this, but I hope those 50 people enjoy it. So, yeah.
Oh, and I would say that your audience is the fans of Scyther Audio. So it's anyone who has liked your shows, they're going to tune in, and because you've done the X-Men, because you've done the Power Rangers, you've got that huge net out there. You're going to catch, 10-20% of them on this show.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
you already
a lot of people. So
you've already built up an audience, and this is like, all right, here we go.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I've honed my, if you go back and listen to our early shows, in terms of production and audio quality, they're not what they became. You could definitely see me learning as I went, in terms of how things have gone. But I think, at this point, people are always, I think because in most of our shows we've got the word fan in there, I think people expect a certain level of quality, and when they hear our shows, they're like, wow, this sounds like it was made by a professional studio, and you're like, yeah, because I want it to sound like that, because there's so many fan films and stuff that you turn on, and if the quality isn't there, or the sound quality isn't there, or something like that, that's why I do audio dramas, because I can't afford to do something high quality in live action, and it would be obviously so much work and production and stuff like that. But I can.
The budget.
But I can make this sound as good. I can make the best movie in your mind with audio and all these amazing cast and stuff like that. And I'll also say, some of these guys have come over from the other shows. Obviously, we've got Catherine Black, who Joey Solis, a lot of Zach, who has been in the other shows. A lot of people, Nate's been a bit part of stuff like that. A lot of you started as fans, or you came in as cast for the other one. But it goes the other way. Absolutely, when the strike is over and our main show's gone back, when I am looking to cast for a character, I'm automatically going to go, I know I've got your guys' voice in mind for that particular character. So I'm like, hey, I've got this part come up. Do you want to be an X-Men, or do you want to be in Power Rangers? And that's what's been this awesome part about this entire last 10 years, even with the 3-year break in between, is this community that we built of just awesome voice actors and talent and fans, and like to the point that I have a Discord and I can go, hey, I haven't cast this part, does anybody want 2 lines? And within half an hour I've got the lines in. That's amazing.
It's insane.
Thank you to everybody for all of that, and the support, and the fact that a lot of you support me on Patreon and things like that. Like I'm just an independent producer in the UK who just does the shows that I want as a fan. And now I'm stepping out that and doing a show that I just want to do creatively, because I wanted to do a gay drama, but also a superhero thing, and also like my own original thing. And like, this is kind of the loose idea I had, and everybody was like, "Yeah, let's do it." If that support hadn't been there, I would have been like, it's not worth the effort. I'll just keep working on X-Men and Power Rangers in the background, But support's been there, so thank you everybody for that. Thank you to everybody.
We love you. Much love. Yeah.
So I'll open to you guys. I feel like I've just been talking. So anything you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, I would love to bring up the music, because honestly, not only is the writing and the characters and everybody's voice acting incredible, but the music, it just completely sets the tone. It brings everything together. It gives you that vibe for the show, and it just it touches you in a way that you get goosebumps when you're listening to it all together. It's just everything is amazing, but the music, it's really awesome. And I'm really glad you brought is it AJ? Was it
AJ? He goes by Silver Sage, is his professional
Silver Sage.
His handle.
Yes.
But he came on board because obviously 3 years ago, Declan Gilgallen, obviously we lost him, and I've not had a composer really since. I've been using old Declan music, and I've been using stock music since then. But Dwayne Venstra, who does Terminator Titans, got me in touch with his composer. I think he also did the opening theme for the Masked Rider show as well. Got me in touch with him, and I said, hey, I'm starting up X-Men again. I need a theme for season 4. And he turned in, you can check out on the YouTube, an amazing cover of the X-Men theme. And I was like, holy crap, that's really, really good. And I will say, from editing, especially, but even if I was just listening to this listener, the main theme of Easthaven 8 is already there. Like, he repeats it as a motif throughout the score. Like, the main theme is hummable, and I think it will get in people's heads,
Yeah, very, very Stranger Things meets superheroes.
Which is what I said. I want that kind of mysterious synth Stranger Things thing, but also superheroes and epicness, and he brought exactly that. So good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So well done. Substage. Amazing stuff, and I hope to continue working with you in the future. He keeps turning in extra stuff. Like, I was literally editing a scene, and he turned in that that 9-minute thing, which is a lot of the score, and then what I used for the end credits for the YouTube version, which is like the club dance version of the theme.
Has he sent you his personal takes on like character themes?
He hasn't done any character themes yet. I'm wondering if maybe we could come up with a theme when the alien monster turns up. So
yeah,
no,
that would be cool.
Yeah, which with me and Joe have been working. What you heard in the background of the end sort of premonition was Joe's demo that he recorded of the alien, because we've going to have three set stages of the alien as it's revealed throughout the story. Sorry, Karen, what were you going to say?
Oh, I don't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say I have to head out and go see my family.
Okay, no worries.
So just want to thank you all. I really appreciate being a part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you for being part of it. Yeah.
It's my pleasure. Bye.
Anybody else got anything they want to really talk about with episode 1 or the show in general?
So I was listening to this while I was making some fried potatoes, and the first thing out of Miss Lou's mouth, that is my roommate and a wonderful artist, she kept hearing buzzing, and I'm like, well, I'm listening to an audio drama because I have wireless headsets. And she's like, what buzzing? And I got closer to her, and she's like, oh, that's kind of annoying. And I'm like, well, what would you hear when you're just waking up from a bomb going off? She's like,
oh, you mean because I did that ear ringing sound effect?
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But
makes
she
sense.
listened to the whole scene, and then she understood, oh, this is actually pretty interesting.
And that's
So
always
definitely-
a thing when editing, is like how much of the sound effects. I always prioritize dialogue over sound effects and music, so sometimes I turn it way down so that the volume of the audio is, but like literally everybody, almost to a fault, when they send me the audio tracks, it gets put up at least 10 decibels. Because I want it to be clear and over the dialogue so you can hear everything that's going on. So I will put it into Audition. I've just realised my chair has just dropped down, so about it. Hang on. I feel like I was slowly dropping down as I was saying. Yeah, so first thing I do, I put everybody's stuff into Audition. If it needs noise removal, I'll do that. But then I'll do a single band compressor to make, because like when you'll have spikes of audio where somebody goes louder or quieter, I like to flatten that out. Occasionally that does make for kind of this clippy sort of, you'll hear it occasionally, this kind of digital sound effect where somebody hits a clipping and it like hits the wall. But that's a small sacrifice for, it really annoys me when you watch a movie and this dialogue scene is really quiet, and then boom, they were really loud, and you have to like shit. It's 2 a.m. and you're like, your neighbours. So I always try and keep it at a sort of level, and maybe I go too loud sometimes. I think this episode probably was a little too loud compared to my other ones, but like once I've hit that level, I want to keep everything at that level. Dialogue, music, and I always want to have the enunciation of the dialogue over or everything else so that you can understand what's going on, especially narration and things. Because I've listened to some audio dramas and there'll be birds chirping or something. You're like, what are they saying? Like, hello? Yeah, what? Yeah.
Hope that wasn't important.
No. Although I've learned from doing these shows for as long as I have that people don't always pay as much attention as you think they do. People don't always listen as intently, and that's just, everybody misses dialogue when they watch something, but when it's all dialogue, like I've had people come at me for continuity things in the past, and I'm like, that was explained, just go back. Or somebody will go, whoever plays this person, I'm like, I literally read their names in every credits. Like, how do you not, but people just skip over that or in the video before the credits, I guess.
Well, I know it's going to be stuck in my head for a couple of months if I keep re-listening to the Power Rangers audio drama.
Yeah.
To poke fun at myself, I loved recording my lines and sending them in because I think I sent you like 45 minutes of takes, as I did like 3 takes of each line.
And then you redid 1 and 2.
Yeah,
like, I only asked for like a retake of a couple of lines. You were like, oh, I'll just do the whole thing. Okay.
I was like, oh, this is great. He's not going to need anything. And then a week later, hey, pal.
Sometimes the problem with, I'd love to do it like this, where we got on the call and I direct you guys, but that's not always feasible time-wise in terms of getting, arranging everybody's schedule and stuff like that. So sometimes when you read something, it reads differently to how you wrote it. Like I've had a couple of times where I've read scripts from Mitch and I'm like, what did this mean? But sometimes it doesn't always translate when you're reading it. So it's how I intended it in terms of inflection and things doesn't always come across. So unless we did live directing sessions, that's just always going to happen, really. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like how the first time Alex says Kyle, he says Kyle Raid. Because you didn't know that it was Reed, But now,
true, yeah, I probably could have pronounced that.
I feel like
I should have done multiple takes.
Yeah, sorry, Karl.
I was thinking I should have done multiple takes for his last name, Reed. My bad.
That's just life. I think episode 1 is always got that kind of pilotitis where things are not quite. I think even TV shows, you'll watch the first episode and it won't quite be what it becomes. For those who are like Deep Space Nine fans, you know, Quark and Odo look very different in the first episode to how they eventually look for the rest of the show. You know, it's just how it is. So I think now that, because I also start writing to everybody's voices once I've cast, like even in this script, Murphy and Kern they weren't even gendered. Like I just open cast them, but now I know their gender and I know their characters and who I've cast as them and their voices and their characters. Now I can develop them. You know.
Also, I think that's just something that I've always done for you. Like, I think at one point you were like, hey, here's this guy that has like 5 lines. It should only take like 10 seconds. Okay, here's a 5-minute audio track of every single possible way.
And there was quite a few ad-libs. Like, I'll say this for the cast out there, like, if you want to riff on a line and make it sound more naturalistic in your voice and change the wording and add bits and riff on it, go for it. There was a lot of the lines in this from Karl in particular, from Zach, that he ad-libbed that made it into the final version. Because sometimes it's like the whole George Lucas thing. You can write the shit, but you can't say it. Like sometimes when you actually read it out, it doesn't sound as good as it does on the page. So it makes more sense in your voice when you finally hear. You know, you might read it a different way to how I read it. And obviously, I'm coming at it because I'm English. I'll write certain phrases or the way we word things that won't make sense for an American. So you guys can change it up. And vice versa.
That's the thing.
You know?
Yeah, that's the thing with dialogue is that it always helps to at least say it out loud before, so that you can hear it better and make sure it doesn't sound like another thing, but also make it sound a little bit more realistic as you say it.
Yeah. But also, I think that's not to... I don't like to, you know, pat myself on the back too much, but I think my strength is dialogue more than anything else. I think character dialogue is what I do best. It's kind of that quippy sort of back and forth dialogue with characters and stuff like that. So that's why I lent into it on this show. Because this first episode is not plotty at all. Like they wake up in the explosion, they get questioned, they go their separate ways, and then they get brought back to the station. That's pretty much it's an hour, and that's pretty much what happens in this first one.
Yeah, quick point episode, so to speak.
Yes.
Point here, point here, point here. Okay.
Like every other show, our first episode has always been like a bang. You like put everything in the first episode, grab everybody. You know, it's always going to be that big thing. This is the first time I've done kind of a slow burn. And maybe we'll take a hit on the views from that, but I'm doing the show I want to do, so yeah.
Well, I think it'll pay off with the mystery.
Yeah,
you know, as that unravels. I mean, that's part of the allure of this show is that there's this big mystery. You know, what's the big threat? How's the government involved? If they're involved, you know, just there's a lot of yeah. So there's a lot of things that are up in the air, and that will draw in maybe a different crowd as well of like, oh, okay, like audio drama mystery. Okay, let's go. Even if it's, you know, kids on bikes trope.
But that's what we like about kids on bikes. They
get
on their bike, they go for an adventure.
Stranger Things for you.
Yes. Definitely with me creating my own fictional town that's set in a real state, there's definitely some major influences of that in this show, you know, especially on the score and things like that. So, I mean, like I say, I will readily admit the main story is not original at all. What's original is our take and our characters and their perspectives. So, yeah.
Don't let the mass populace fool you. The government's involved in everything. Run, E.T.!
Dang FBI, they had one job. Oh, wait, they already blew it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anything else anybody wants to bring up before we bring this to a close?
No, I'm just excited for the second one.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah.
For me, what I'm most excited about is exploring the various relationships and friendships between all the various characters, specifically with the main 16s and how all their own individual one-on-one dynamics evolve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's very important to me to make sure that they all get a spotlight, because I'll readily admit the Yellow Rangers in my shows in my Power Rangers show. They don't get as much spotlight as the others, and I tried to, this season 3 of Rangers. I tried to correct that a lot with Aisha, to various degrees. But I don't want anybody to become the treaty who doesn't it's like, and she's here.
Well, if it helps, Power Rangers in future seasons, they go back and forth on whether or not Yellow Ranger's good. So, if that helps.
Yeah, and of course, poor Rocky. Poor Rocky.
Hey, I've done more with Rocky than the show ever did.
Dang it, Jimmy. Yeah, one job. Oh wait, he does lots of jobs.
I don't know who the. I don't know who.
I'll say that later.
I don't know who the equivalent in X-Men would be. Who's the guy who's like doesn't really get much spotlight as everybody else. I think
Depends on his writing.
Yeah, I mean my show specifically.
Yeah, but in the comics, so remember the character of Forget-Me-Not?
Yeah.
If I can be a cheat and say me in the future.
Yeah. I mean
I'd say Nightcrawler. I feel like he doesn't get quite as much screen time as the others.
No.
Although we did have that really great episode where he comes to terms with the fact that Rogue is his adopted sister and Mystique is his mother, and now the possibility that down the line we might explore what his possible relationship with Graydon is going to look like.
Yeah. Like, I think the fact that those characters all exist and they've all got backstory helps with that show, that I'm able to give them all something to do, and they've all got trajectories, because Claremont already came up with that back in the 80s. Iceman, maybe? He's, and that's down to following the comic continuity. He just was not.
He just disappears.
He just disappeared in the 70s and just never really came back until the 2000s. So,
well, he was on the Defenders, and then they put him on X Factor when they killed off the Defenders.
Yes. Yeah. To speak to our Discord chat this week, there's some characters who I'll never bring in, who I didn't even know existed.
Things that make you go.
Like, wait, what is this?
Oh,
real?
we discovered there was a character that was created, a mutant who her ability was to poop ice cream. That is a legitimate Marvel mutant. I shit you not, literally. A literal character.
What's her code name?
Soft serve.
Soft serve.
Okay.
Yeah, you Google that on your own time.
Marvel is.
Oh, that is so problematic.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the early drafts of this had some weird things in, but never that weird. Silver Sage is here in the chat. They're fantastic work on the score again, man. Thank you so much. Just want to say kudos to Karl for illustrating this world and leading some fantastic project. Come on, hear more. Oh, thank you. Thank you for being a big part of it and being awesome. And same goes to all of you guys. Yeah. So, thank you everybody for joining us for this. We'll try and do another one for episode 2, whenever that is.
All right.
I just need to get the script written now. And we'll massage it a bit in the chat again and stuff like that. So, and then eventually I'll get it out to everybody and we'll go from there.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Oh yeah.
And for those who are asking, literally, I have everything for Power Rangers now. The next episode, I'm going to edit it at my own pace and it will be out on the Patreon. I just can't put it out on the general release for obvious reasons. So.
But once the strikes are over, that's when you'll release them, right?
And depending on how long it goes, I've got 2 episodes now that are done and on the Patreon of 2 different shows. Once we come back, there's a chance I could have, because Joey's still doing his bonus episode, that's almost episode 7.5 of Rangers, so we could come back and have 2 or 3 episodes of each show in the backlog, and I could just release them 1 week after another. So exciting.
I've been paying attention to what the status of what the strikes are going in. From the looks of things, it seems like the writers they're about to resolve this eventually. I'm not saying for sure, but I think fingers crossed.
I think there was a meeting this morning with Netflix, Disney, and
Those are the big two.
Hulu, and 2 others. They ain't gonna settle with Disney. I almost guarantee that. After losing $6 million to the parks,
Well,
there's 60 million.
Well, the thing is like that if they don't, they're gonna have no content. So
Yeah.
like, there's just gonna be no movies next year. No blockbusters. So yeah, you need actors to make movies. Unfortunately, you know, the actors is obviously what's stopping us. Like I'm not union eligible or anything like that. So like the writer strike doesn't stop us. It's the actors one that stops us. So you know. That'll be the one. Once that resolves, then things can start coming out again.
So. Yeah. So if the WGA is working things out, then SAG is not that far behind.
No. So it's feasible by Christmas. We'll be back to standard operating procedure, but this show will continue no matter what and finish up. Like Trial of Bruce Wayne obviously fell off just because it was the third in line of priorities to the other 2 shows. But this show, I'm committed to finishing these 6 episodes, and if it blows up, we'll continue, just keep going with it, you know, because it's a different thing. It's not, you know, it's not as time consuming as the other 2 shows. So, yeah. Alrighty. So thank you everybody for tuning into this. Those of you who have, thank you everybody for being on. It's been awesome that the turnout for especially how last minute this was. Yeah. And we will see you next time for episode 2.
Bye.
Sweet. Later.